Welcome back to Unleashed, Unfiltered, and Unapologetically Human with me, Julie. On today's topic, we're going to be understanding narcissism, the spectrum of self love. This is an important conversation that I believe can help us all navigate our relationships better, both personally and professionally. Today, we'll explore what narcissism is, the different types, its impact on relationships, and some effective coping strategies. So, let's get started. So, first, let's define narcissism. According to the DSM 5, or the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, narcissism is characterized by a pervasive pattern of grandiosity, a need for admiration, and a lack of empathy. So, symptoms include an exaggerated sense of self importance, a occup- blah, 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 occupation with unlimited success, power, brilliance, or beauty, a belief that they are special and unique and can only be understood by or should associate with other special or high status people, a need for excessive admiration, a sense of entitlement, interpersonally exploitive behavior, a lack of empathy, meaning they struggle to recognize or identify with the feelings and need of others, often envious of others or believing that others are envious of them, showing arrogant or haughty behaviors or attitudes. So, in everyday life, we might see narcissistic behaviors manifest in various ways. For instance, someone who constantly seeks validation through social media or frequently boasts about their achievements can be exhibited narcissistic traits. Now, understanding these traits is crucial for recognizing narcissism in ourselves and others. So, let's talk about the different types of narcissism. In this episode, I highlight two main types. Oh my goodness, I just cannot talk today. So the first one is grandiose and the other one is vulnerable. Now, for grandiose, this type is characterized by overt self importance and often displays a sense of superiority. Individuals with grandiose narcissism tend to be dominant, arrogant, and entitled. They might frequently seek attention and admiration, often boasting about their achievements or dismissing the opinions and feelings of others. So, for example, in social settings, you might encounter someone who interrupts others to showcase their own experiences or achievements, showing little regard for others' contributions. Now, with vulnerable narcissism, this is marked by insecurity and hypersensitivity to criticism. So, individuals may present themselves as fragile, needing constant reassurance and validation. They may react defensively to feedback, feeling personally attacked even when criticism is constructive. For example, someone with vulnerable narcissism might withdraw from social situations if they feel slighted or may sulk when they do not receive the admiration they believe they deserve. So, it's essential to understand that narcissism exists on a spectrum. A lot of mental health or mental diseases often are a spectrum. So some individuals exhibit traits from both categories, and others may have healthy self esteem without crossing into narcissism. And this understanding encourages us to reflect on our behaviors and how they relate to narcissism. Now, I want to emphasize the concept of the narcissism spectrum. It's not just black and white, there's a continuum. Now, there's healthy self esteem that involves a positive self view without diminishing others. It's about recognizing your worth while also valuing others. In contrast, pathological narcissism involves a distorted self image and a need to undermine others to feel superior. So, for example, the way I see narcissism, in my own opinion, from my experience with my ex, my parents, stuff like that, it's essentially they give off this face. They can be so freaking amazing in the beginning when they first meet you. They're like, "Oh my god, this, I'm amazing," like all of this. But when you actually get to see the signs and start recognizing what's happening, cuz they'll be great at first. But then as time goes by, you kind of see them slipping a little bit of their true selves, of how like they try to twist things, they try to make things as if they're a lot better than you, or they might make them seem like they're like a victim in things, and they're like, oh, boo hoo me, that, this, that, and the other, and make you feel like you're at fault. It's because of you. It's all because of you. So, for example, for an example, for a healthy self esteem, can celebrate their achievements without belittling others, while someone with narcissistic traits may feel threatened by others' success. So, it's basically those people that, you're graduating or whatever the case is, and they kind of belittle you like, oh, that's cool. That's great. Now, I have a personal experience of that. When I was when I was a senior in high school, I applied for Northern Arizona University. I wanted to go to this university since I was probably in like 7th grade, and I was really excited. My grades were really great. I actually ended up getting, I think it was the lumberjack scholarship. And I was so excited, and I told my stepmom at the time, and her response was, "Well, are you going to fuck it up?" It wasn't no like, "Oh my god, that's exciting. This is great." No, it wasn't exciting at all. It was, "Well, are you going to mess it up?" And my response was just like, no. And mind you, at that time my relationship with her it wasn't that great. And I actually ended up celebrating me getting into that college with my cousin, because she lived with us for a while, and she was like, "Oh my god, I'm so proud of you." Like, something your parents should be telling you, but it was my cousin. And to this day I'm so appreciative of her. It's and I really needed at least somebody to be able to celebrate with. I didn't really have a lot of friends at the time, and it was very sad, to be honest. And so it's like things like that, like they try to undermine your successes, and to the point where like you end up doubting yourself if you're able to succeed, or if you're like you even like deserve that success. So okay, and so I definitely encourage you to take a moment to reflect on where you might fit on the spectrum, because sometimes you can have like a little bit of narcissism, but I think the most important part, which I've seen many videos, as well as like being able to recognize it and be better from it. So, are there instances where you exhibit narcissistic traits, and how does that affect your interactions with others? Because sometimes, if you realize like the things that you say, it's ultimately being mindful of how you are with people. So now we kind of get into narcissism, but in relationships. Now, I'm gonna tell you now, when you're in a relationship with a narcissist, it it can be great in the beginning. It can be amazing. You love this person, you think they're amazing, but it can definitely go downhill so fast if you start recognizing the things that are happening. If you don't recognize it, you're just like, "Oh, it's fine." But with being my goodness, Jesus. So, being in a relationship with a narcissist, it can lead to a lack of emotional connection. The individuals may struggle with empathy, making it challenging to support their partners or friends emotionally. For example, a partner who constantly seeks validation may ignore their partner's needs, leading to feelings of neglect and resentment. So basically, they want validation all the time. Literally all the time. They do something little, they want you to like celebrate them. Celebrate. And if you don't give them that reaction that they're wanting, they hate it. They start like turning things on you. It's not great, because in them because essentially everything that they do, it's only to seek the validation. to make them feel great. Has nothing to do with doing it from the heart, just doing it because, oh, I love my partner so much. I'm gonna, try to give them a massage, try to give them like a bath or something, kind of something nice because you love them, because you want them to relax after like a long day at work or something. And for them, it's more of like, I'm gonna do this so that they can give me that satisfaction of, oh my God, thank you so much. I love it. This is so nice. No one's ever done this for me. Like, that's the type of want that they need and that they crave. And when you don't give it to them, it just irritates them because they're like, oh, like you're not giving me what I want. And which can ultimately, like they said, to feelings of the other partner feeling neglect and resentment, because there's going to be some times where you're just exhausted, from work, from just people in general. And so when you come home, you just want, to relax, but sometimes you may not have that 100% all the time. And so that person does feel like they're neglectful because ultimately when you're expressing your needs, they don't really care. It's almost like an inconvenience. Like, ugh, really? Like, you want to do that? Why can't you do that for me? Or like stuff like that. And with having that type of mindset, with being with a narcissist, it can lead to a lot of frequent conflicts. For example, someone with grandiose narcissism may dismiss their partner's feelings, leading to arguments and emotional distance. So when that partner, because in a relationship, it's never going to be 50-50. Sometimes it's going to be, sometimes, your partner might be at 20% and you have to kind of help them with the rest, or you have to be there for your partner in that way in order to help them get through whatever they're dealing with. And so with the narcissist, they're expecting you to do a majority of everything. They need you to supply them with the constant like gratification, constant, like everything is about them. It's them, 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 them. And then there's you. And a vulnerable narcissist may react defensively to any perceived criticism, creating an environment that feels unsafe for open communication. I'm going to tell you this from an experience of being, with, in a relationship, as well as having a parent that was also narcissistic. It is so, excuse my language, so fucking exhausting. Like, you are always on like high alert because you don't know what you're going to expect from them. You might try to do something and they might flip it on you and make it seem like you weren't thinking about them when you were. And it also like it really does cause mental, like you're always on like a fight or flight when you're in a relationship with them, or you're having to experience someone in that nature. And let's move on to professional relationships. Now, in the workplace, dealing with a narcissistic individual can be particularly challenging. Those with grandiose narcissism may take credit for others' work or overlook the contributions of their colleagues. This can lead to a toxic work environment. Vulnerable narcissists may struggle with teamwork, feeling hurt by constructive feedback, and withdrawing from collaborative efforts. I'm going to say it is so hard to have a relationship, or even like being in an work environment and having to deal with that, because of the fact that they will overlook anything that you do. They don't like, oh my God, like congratulations. Like, no, it's none of that. Like, if they're not getting all the attention, they will like not pay attention to you. Or like, if let's say and I've had the experience of this, I ain't gonna lie. When you're busy doing something and they ask for something, you're like, hold on, like I'll be in there in 1 second because I have to do something else. They will have a whole mental breakdown and make you seem like you are the terrible person. It is your fault. And then for them not to communicate with that, they won't communicate with you. And instead, they make it a whole big deal, try to ignore you, whatever the case is, because they're essentially trying to punish you. Even though they're not telling you what's wrong, they won't tell you. But you'll find out later on by other people. They'll say that, oh, you did this. You're like, somehow you become this horrible bad guy, even though you were doing your job. But for that split second that they needed help, and you're like, hold on, give me 1 second. I have to do this. They think that, oh, you don't give a shit about me. You don't care about me. And having that experience, it sucks because you start thinking to yourself, you're like, did I really was I that horrible? Like, I swear I was just, working on an animal, like whatever the case is, you were working on. And for them to make it seem as if you were just like, you know what, I don't want to freaking help you. Like, that's the way they make you, they change the narrative. And so you have to basically explain yours to yourself, and you're trying to be like, no, like that's not what happened. And the only way that you can really, I am very glad I actually had someone there that was there to like see what actually happened, and they're like, no, like you were very like professional, and like, I don't know why that person said that or whatever. So luckily, it's good when you have witnesses, because then they can be like, no, like you handled that well. I don't know what they're talking about. But when you don't, you feel like you're going crazy. And that is like the definition of freaking narcissism, is that they make you feel like you're going fucking insane. They make you doubt yourself times 10. And it is miserable, and it is horrible, and like trying to understand things, it's hard. So, going into that, moving on, coping strategies. So, the first off, setting boundaries. It's crucial to establish and maintain personal boundaries. This means clearly communicating what behaviors are acceptable and what are not. For example, if a friend constantly interrupts you or belittles your achievements, it's essential to address their behavior directly. You might say, I feel dismissed when you interrupt me. I'd appreciate it if we could both share our thoughts without cutting each other off. Now, I'm going to say this. When you start making boundaries, they a lot of the time don't know how to react to it. Because for them, they're like, why? Like, that's an inconvenience for me. Why are you making these boundaries? Like, it's supposed to all be about me. Like, it's very irrelevant for you to make those boundaries. But it is very important to have those boundaries in order for you to deal with that relationship. If it's like, if it's a partner, if it's a coworker, whatever it is, in order to effectively have that relationship without it affecting you mentally, you have to make those boundaries. Second, practicing self care. Focusing on self love and self validation is vital. I'm telling you, I wish that I practiced that a long time ago. So, for examples, it's engaging in activities that promote your well being and boost your self esteem. It's making sure that you have enough self love for yourself and you understand yourself so well that you are able to confidently know yourself. And that will also help with them not basically mind fucking you. And so, an example would be, consider like journaling about your feelings and achievements to reinforce your sense of self worth, reminding you all the things that you have done right, all the things that you have achieved, because essentially they will belittle you. They will make you seem like, oh, you did that. That's whatever. When in reality, you worked your butt off. You like worked so hard to get that certification, to get that degree, whatever it was that you got. And with you journaling that, with you, going on little dates with yourself. Like, that is something that no one can take away from you in any, even if it's not a narcissist or something like that. Just having that self-love will help with not only dealing with the narcissist, but as well as being able to take care of yourself without someone there, and making sure that you're not getting that validation that you're this amazing person from another person. Another is, consider seeking support from a therapist or a support group that can help navigate these challenging relationships. Having somebody to talk to about your relationship. Now, one, it is important to make sure that you have a good boundary with whoever you're talking to. I do recommend having that, therapist, or sometimes I don't really suggest having like a best friend to kind of talk about those types of challenges, only because if you think about it, you talk to your friend about, what's going on. Mind you, there are certain friends that, do try to stay neutral and don't, side on one side or one to, the friend or whatever. But having a therapist is really helpful only because they can be neutral. Now, mind you, there are therapists that may not be able to help because they don't specialize in that or whatever the case is. But having a therapist will help in order to, I guess you could say, stay sane, and being able to give helpful support and helping you in navigating those challenges in that relationship. Because I'm going to tell you now, having a narcissistic parent, I didn't really talk about my parents that often growing up, but it wasn't until I became an adult and everything that I would talk about my childhood and talk about my mom and stuff like that. And they're like, that is horrible. Like, why? That's not okay. And so learning that there are certain things that, like, yeah, I might have had, I might have got to do a lot of things, but also, there was a lot of things mentally that really messed me up as an adult. It created trust issues. It created, a lot of self-love issues with myself, and realizing that I didn't learn self-love because of the fact that, essentially, my parents didn't love themselves enough. And you learn from who you surround yourself with, and unfortunately, like, that was, my parents, that I was around them all the time. And so having, like, going to therapy and, like, learning different things, it does definitely help with trying to navigate that. Another thing to help would be educating yourself. So doing your own research, help educating yourself about how to deal with narcissism will definitely help, and also help you in realizing that you're not crazy in the feelings that you have with that person. And there are a lot of resources that help. There is a doctor that, she, let me find her. Her name is Dr. Romani. She actually does a lot of YouTube videos, and she has her own website and stuff, and she specializes solely on narcissistic relationships. So on her YouTube videos, and that's also a lot of information that I've learned, as well as from going to school and stuff like that. She helps with trying to heal from having a narcissistic relationship. So whether that be a coworker, whether that be a parent, whether that be like a sibling, or even just a partner, she helps with trying to not only to spot the narcissist person, but as well as being able to take care of yourself and navigating that relationship, because it is not easy, and doing it by yourself and not having any help will make you go crazy. And you start doubting everything. Like I am not joking, to the little smallest things, you will start doubting yourself if you can do things. And so having that person, even learning about that thing, will help you in keeping yourself sane, making sure you're taking care of yourself, and just being able to take care of your mind and not letting other people kind of like disengage that. So another interesting aspect I want to discuss is the cultural perspectives on narcissism. So one, social media influence. Social media is such a we are now in our digital age. Social media plays a significant role in encouraging narcissistic behaviors. The quest for likes and validation can lead individuals to present an exaggerated version of themselves. Now, I've watched many videos on YouTube of YouTubers, the way they act, the way, there's many like families that have made like vlogs and stuff like that, and they're like trying to get likes or trying to, be viewed a certain way, in order to just get that recognition. And again, that goes to the two types of narcissism. So we're talking about, usually when it comes to the um narcissist online, like social media, we're usually talking about the trying to find it. Okay, so we're usually talking about the grandiose narcissism when it comes to social media, because essentially you're trying to find any type of like you're just trying to find those likes. You're trying to find that attention, that like, oh, like thank you so much, like compliments on compliments. Like that is unfortunately the digital age. That's where we are. So, for example, influencers often portray a curated, glamorous lifestyle, which can distort reality and create unrealistic expectation for others. So, for example, we have vloggers, we have YouTubers that, show their lives, how they're doing, and it causes people that are watching to be like, oh, that's how I want my life to be. That's how I want my relationship to be. And it gives that expectation that's very unrealistic. And then you find out, and it usually what happens is that later down the road, they end up making some type of video saying, oh, we broke up. And no one would have realized that their relationship wasn't as like rainbows and sunshine as they wanted to portray themselves to be. And I feel like this is something that is very dangerous when it comes to the iPad kids. And you know what iPad kids are? It's those kids that literally they grew up on their iPad. They watch YouTube, they watch like Bluey and all that stuff. And mind you, I like Bluey too, so I'm not shitting on Bluey, but that's what I'm talking about. Like they watch YouTube channel and they find these YouTube videos, and they're watching that, and it's essentially like, yeah, that's okay. That's okay to act like that. That's okay to treat your wife, to treat your girlfriend, to, act like that. And when in reality it's not. It's not the realistic truth when having a relationship with having that type of lifestyle. Mind you, you can work your butt off, or you can like, somehow be that like 1% that is able to make it and make, hundreds, millions of dollars. But I feel like, and I'm just from past experience, I feel like people tend to focus too much on the relationship part of YouTube and having that amazing relationship. And it doesn't, there's not a lot of YouTubers that will show the reality of like, when you're in a relationship, it's not always going to be sunshine and rainbows. There are times when you're just going to like, you're going to be so frustrated with your partner sometimes because, again, you guys both grew up from a different family, and the way things are okay with your family may not be okay with theirs. And so, it's I think it's very important to not only know yourself, but as well as knowing what's reality and what's not. And that is definitely something that social media, unfortunately, does not help. And again, there are some social media influencers that are just real from start to finish. They're just the realest person, and they'll show you their good, bad, and ugly. And I do appreciate those types of YouTubers, those type of influencers, because that does help people be like, you know what I'm dealing with is like other people are dealing with it. Even if they have a bunch of money, like they're still dealing with depression, anxiety, like PTSD, stuff like that. And it's not that they're trying to glorify it. They're just saying like this is my reality. Like, yeah, I may be making millions or whatever the case is, but I still have these issues. Um, let's see. So another thing is different cultures have varying views on narcissism. So could kind of transition. In individualistic cultures, self promotion may be more accepted, while collectivist cultures may emphasize community and humility. Understanding these cultural narratives can help us navigate our interactions and recognize how society values shape our behaviors. So, that is definitely something that I didn't realize until I started, going to school and like learning about different like narcissistic behaviors and kind of where it stems from, but learning that there are some cultures that they do want you to like self promote. They want you to be like, "Oh, like I did this, like I'm like, top of the world, whatever." And then there are some cultures that they essentially want you to just be in the background. Like don't put too much attention to yourself, like that's not okay. And I've definitely experienced that in a way that it wasn't more of like a culture, but it was more of the person. Like if I wanted, and that is something that is very hard for me to this day. Growing up, it wasn't okay for me to be over like, oh my God, I'm doing great. Like, I'm like, whatever, or even purchasing things for myself. I, growing up, if I like went to like go clean somebody's house and I ended up, making a little bit of money, or, my aunt, for example, would take me to go get just whatever I wanted to buy, she would get it for me because I cleaned her house. Well, there was some instances where if I bought stuff for myself and I didn't bring anything for my brother, it was like I'm being selfish. Why didn't you get anything for your brother? Why didn't you, And in that instance, what it causes is it causes kind of like resentment to the person that's not even involved. So like for example, I'm not going to lie, I had a little bit of resentment with my brother because you know, I was trying to make money for myself, trying to buy stuff. Like I'm still like a kid, and to come home and be like, "Why didn't you buy anything for your brother?" Like that's selfish. And for me, I was like, Well, I worked hard for this my money. Like I don't always have to buy everyone things, Like it's okay for me to, and mind you, at that time I was like, maybe I am selfish, like, and so from then on, I that was like a thing for me, is I would buy stuff for my brother every time like I got paid or whatever. And going into therapy and stuff, like realizing that like no, like you don't have to buy things for everyone all the time just because you get paid. And it's become to the point where as an adult, it is very hard for me to even buy anything for myself. Whether that be like crafts, whether that be even like clothes, shoes. I it is so hard for me to buy anything for myself. Like it takes me a lot to be like, you know what? I deserve this. Like I work pretty hard. Like I work hard for my money. I work hard for what I do and everything like that. And so even thinking about buying anything for myself, it takes a lot out of me to even do that. And I'm still trying to figure that out for myself. Luckily I do have a very supportive partner, and there are times where she'll buy me stuff that I like only because she knows that I won't buy it for myself. And I do the exact same thing for her, because it's very hard for her to sometimes buy things for herself, and she will buy like very like cheap stuff, and I'm like, why don't you just get like this one? Because I mean, it might be a little bit more expensive, but like it'll last longer than if you bought like the cheaper version. And it's only because I know that she deserves the best. And luckily we're very supportive of each other and our past traumas and stuff like that. So we try to be understanding with each other, as hard as it can be sometimes, only because like it is a journey that takes a lot of patience and a lot of time to be able to like sit with yourself and be like, you know what, yeah, I deserve this. Like, and so sometimes like I'll buy her stuff, she buys me stuff, like we go back and forth, and essentially us doing that, it helps with us being able, so now like I'm able to, every once in a while I'll buy some stuff for myself. I like to do my nails, I like to, try to do different things with my hair, or like arts and crafts, and she likes doing arts and crafts, she likes like kid movies and stuff like that, so do I. And she likes mini stuff, and so I'll find things and I'll buy it for her, and she's like, oh my god, and we kind of go back and forth with it. And now like she'll buy stuff for herself, like she'll buy like different things, and it's cute to see how happy she gets. And just because she bought it for herself, she did that. And she at one point didn't have the money to buy things for herself, because of the fact that the relationship she had, it was, the money was going out faster than it was coming in. And so now she's able to buy things that she wants. She's able to, get different things. And I'm very proud of the progress that she's gone. And, it is, it's a lot of hard work trying to get through the trauma from being in a relationship with a narcissist, as well as just a parent or any type. And as we wrap up this discussion, I want to emphasize the importance of understanding narcissism, because once you understand narcissism, it enables you to be able to handle those relationships better and not take away from yourself. So, one, the key takeaways that I want you guys to take would be: narcissism exists on a spectrum, and it's crucial to recognize the traits in ourselves and others. The impact of narcissism can be profound, affecting personal and professional relationships. And implementing coping strategies such as setting boundaries and practicing self care can help us navigate those dynamics. I encourage you to engage in self reflection and consider how understanding narcissism can improve your relationships. Thank you for joining me today and exploring the complexities of narcissism on this episode of Julie Unleashed. Remember, being aware of these behaviors is the first step in fostering healthier relationships. Until next time, you guys take care and come back for another episode. I don't know when, but it will essentially happen when it happens. But you guys have a good day, and bye.